I would say that creating an event is like baking a cake. You cannot add more flour here and more sugar there because then your cake is not going to come out right. So the base of your recipe has to be very well measured, and you have to know what type of ingredient and what the measurements are. Then after that, when you're going to do the frosting of the cake, then there you can liberate your imagination and you can add any kind of on top elements as more flowers, more entertainment, more lighting, more of anything. And that's where you're going to get the right atmosphere. You have to have the right venue, the right table setting, the right number of people sitting at the table. You have to make sure about heating, if it's winter or if it's summer. You can have the most amazing party, the most amazing wines and food, but if people are cold, they're going to leave the party earlier and your whole party is ruined, whatever, if it's a corporate or a private. So that's what I meant by you have to have the right measurements. And when you have that created, then consequently, the right atmosphere will be created.
Hey, I'm Bryan Wish, and welcome back to the One Away Show. Today's guest is Carolina, a founder, creative force, and experiential designer who spent over 30 years transforming the event industry across Italy and beyond. We talk about what it means to design events that make people feel, not just remember. From 5-day immersive experiences to the art of gifting, Carolina shares how attention to detail, aesthetic intuition, and heartfelt intention can turn logistics into lasting impact. Let's get into it. Carolina, welcome to the One Away Show.
Hello, thank you, Bryan, for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. So Carolina, I've loved our early conversations and getting to know you. What is the one away moment or trajectory changing moment that you want to share with us today?
32 years ago, I was standing on the beautiful terrace in Positano, welcoming guests for an incentive travel company event. And one of the lady arrived on the terrace and started crying. And I was very worried. I thought, what's happening? Why is she crying? And when I went to her to see if she needed help, she told me, I'm just so emotioned because I'm so lucky to be here in Positano watching this amazing scenery, and my parents will never have the chance to see this. And that was for me a transformative moment, making me understand how traveling, incentive travel, events could really transform people, their feeling, and their emotions.
So you saw a woman traveling at an event experience, and you struck up a conversation, and at the root of it, she was blown away, it sounds like, by the beauty of what she was seeing, but it's sad at the same time that her parents wouldn't be able to have a similar experience. Is that what I just heard?
That's correct. Yes.
This incentives and events company, was this your company that you started, or was this a company you were working for that made you really appreciate what an event could do for somebody in their life?
It was my very first event of my career, but it wasn't my company at the time. But that really led me to decide to have and create my own company right after.
Wow.
Because I thought that being able to bring this kind of emotion to people would have been my purpose.
So you were working at this company?
Now, yes, I have my company now over the last 2 years.
The company where you met this woman, were you working at that company, or you just met her at that event?
Oh, no. I was working for the company that organized the event.
Okay, wow. So this woman kind of showed you, let's say the emotional side, the beauty of what events can do. My question for you, and I want to hear all about your company. What was your early interest though in events? Like what were before you started and went out and said, I'm going to start my own company, right? What maybe drew you to working in events in the first place, if you can recall?
Working in events and how can I say, being able to showcase my country, Italy, to people that are coming to Italy for the first, the second, or even the third time, but always with the aim of surprising them, showing them something that without me and my company, they would not have been able to experience. Opening doors that are not usually open to the public, unveiling private villas, private art collection, opening or closing museums, depending on the needs of our customers, make it the experience so unique and special. That was really the drive within creating the company in events.
So it sounds like, you really value the experiential side of things, right? Whether you go into a cafe, whether you're at a friend's place, the interior decor of how something looks and feels. Uh, just out of curiosity, I mean, was that kind of instilled in you maybe growing up, where you give influences internal in the family, external, that those values were expressed and shared? Like where did you pick up those core kind of traits, right, to who you are?
I have an American mother who never spoke English to us, and my father, Italian, was a diplomat. He was an ambassador. So we traveled Europe extensively and we lived in different cities. But I always recall my mother organizing events at the embassy for my father's business. So for sure, I think that lots of the organizational skills that then I discovered to have and that I developed was also thanks to her. Looking at her hosting people from all walks of life coming to the embassy for official gatherings eventually led me to what I'm doing today, and also my passion for themed and my passion for um, gifts that I will gladly talk about later. Seeing her has put like she has planted the seed of passion of organization, whatever it was for dinner or lunch or party. And that I think for sure has been of great influence.
So it sounds like your mother played a great role in shaping you.
Yes, definitely.
And your dad gave her the platform for events, and she got to bring her magic skills and expertise, it sounds like, to it. And you had a front row seat.
Yes. And I remember that sometimes while they were having dinner, I was sneaking in the background, stealing the chocolates from the chocolate box that she had prepared for desserts.
That sounds very wise for sure. Well, that's a fun story. It sounds like your mom was very thoughtful and detailed and put a lot of care into the work she did for the family and business. But thanks for giving context to your upbringing a little bit. Um, so Carolina, you went out, you saw a growing up about events, you saw organization, you kind of had as you said, I said a front row seat to seeing how events come together. And then additionally, uh, you went and you worked for an events company, and you had a experience that kind of left a mark on you about a woman in a beautiful scenery and seeing the impact of an event on her and how she thought about her family and life. And then you said, I'm going to go start an events company. Uh, when you first started the company, take us back. Like, what were you thinking? What was your vision for it? Like, was it just like, I'm just gonna maybe go do a couple of events and see what it turns into, or was it you had this kind of ideal plan of what you wanted to ultimately create?
Well, the vision that I got when I saw this scene in front of my eyes of her crying, it made me think that there's a lot more than just the logistics in an event. So obviously the event is firstly about the logistics, about finding the right venue, the right hotel, the right restaurant, the sightseeing, transportation. I mean, all the, let's say, the logistics element that are involved in an event. But then you realize it's really about crafting an experience that will forge long lasting memories. Because an event is not only that you come and you discover a country, whatever country that is, but it's what you're going to take back with you, which I think really will make the difference. For companies, if I have to say it bluntly, it's the return on investment. But the return on investment is not only in terms of loyalty of their employees, or yes, also loyalty of their customers that they might be inviting for that specific event. It's really about how they have made their people feel. And that leads me to say the famous Maya Angelou um, sentence that she said, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that really applies to the events. And that has been then the purpose of my business, is to make people feel special, valued, and pampered by myself, but especially also by my customer who are inviting their employees, their customers, or for a wedding or for a special party.
I mean, I think it sounds very intentional, the experience that you're trying to create and the feelings that you're trying to evoke. And um, I think what I'm hearing you also say is loyalty from a customer and employee perspective. Like that might be a goal, but it's ultimately byproduct of creating a good experience at large, right? And so my question to you is, you talk about making people feel valued, special, pampered through an event experience. What would you say for any event, right, that you're planning? Like, what are the ingredients of making that happen or enabling that, right, for any event?
Have you ever walked into a space so breathtaking that for a moment you forget everything else? To me, it's the lights, the colors, the textures, the table settings, the music, the flower decoration, the menus on the table. Let's say these are all physical elements that makes the beauty and the atmosphere of the event. And once you have that well orchestrated, that then transform into an experience and into feelings. And that, I think, is what makes an event special.
So you're really thinking about the atmosphere and the way an atmosphere might makes people feel within that space. Is that correct?
Yes.
So are you thinking as well before you think about the atmosphere? Because how you but then whatever the event might be a wedding, a business function, a celebration of life, right? Like the feelings that you want maybe people to experience or the vision you have, that might change how you think about the atmosphere. So do you, when you think about this and you're kind of planning and curating the sophistication around all of this, are you first thinking about the feeling first before you kind of pick the atmosphere, or do you kind of think about the atmosphere first to like create the feeling? Does that question make sense?
Yes, totally. Well, I would say that it's a combination of both. First, you have to think about the logistic. You have to find the right venue for a certain type of event. Because obviously, a corporate, a private party, a wedding, or a birthday party can request a different type of venue depending on the customers and who is your audience. And the venue, always the context of the venue is very important. because a bank will have a different kind of decor compared to a birthday celebration. You cannot have the same type of decor and entertainment that you would have for a bank function rather than a birthday party. That's a completely different atmosphere. So, first, you have to set the right ingredients in the logic. I would say that creating an event is like baking a cake. You have to have, first of all, you have to measure all your ingredients. You cannot add more flour here and more sugar there because then your cake is not going to come out right. So the base of your recipe has to be very well measured, and you have to know what type of ingredient and what the measurements are. Then after that, when you're going to do the frosting of the cake, then there you can liberate your imagination and you can add any kind of on top elements as more flowers, more entertainment, more lighting, more of anything. And that's where you're going to get the right atmosphere. You have to have, first of all, the right venue, the right table setting, the right number of people sitting at the table. You have to make sure about heating, if it's winter or if it's summer. If you're going to be cold, you can have the most amazing party, the most amazing wines and food. But if people are cold, they're going to leave the party earlier and your whole party is ruined, whatever, if it's a corporate or a private. You cannot have too loud music. You have to be careful of having the heights of your center table the right way. Otherwise, people are not going to engage in a conversation. So that's what I meant by you have to have the right measurements. And when you have that created, then consequently, the right atmosphere will be created by these elements. It's funny, when people come to an event, everything is given for granted. The lights are on, the food is there. But if a candle is not lit up, they will remember that. Not sometimes it's true. They remember that everything is beautiful, but then there's a one little detail that didn't function. And sometimes that's what they remember, unfortunately, beside the overall picture of the whole atmosphere.
You know, as someone who also loves events, maybe not at the level of scale and detail you do, but I think when you go to an event or you plan an event, you know pretty quickly if it's going to be a bad event or a good event, or you walk away and you can. Well, let me say this differently. When you go to a remarkable event that leaves an impression, right? I think it always stands out because so few events are truly executed flawlessly in a way that is a really beautiful experience. And so what I'm hearing you say is if you get the core of the event right, these different pieces, right, that really it's measured and you get those kind of basics right, then you can apply the frosting, you can apply the fun and the entertainment and all the things that kind of spice it up a little bit. But if the temperature is wrong or kind of things are out of place, it's going to throw off the whole experience for everyone where they may not be able to appreciate the fun details.
You're absolutely right, because sometimes, well, our job, any event planner will tell you that an event and the success of an event is the attention to details that you put into organizing it. And that's one of the fundamental. But on top of that, I would say that even after 30 years, you think you know it all, you don't. Because there will always be, well, it can happen that there will be elements that you cannot control. So when you said you step in and you know if it's a good or bad event, you will always think that your event will be perfect because you have planned every single detail so that there cannot be any surprise. And even though you have to be prepared for surprises, and if I can share a little story that is really unbelievable. So we had this wedding in Como, August 1st, the hottest month in the year. Como is in between mountains, and the weather in Como can change. I'm not saying in an hour, it can change in 5 minutes. We knew that. We had the wedding, 400 people in a beautiful villa, and we did set up a marquee. It was really hot. The celebration of the wedding was outside in the garden. The weather was stunning, blue sky, sun. The bride was due to arrive at 5:30 p.m. At 5:10, I see a dark cloud on top of the mountain far away. Uh-huh. The cloud arrived like in the cartoons so quickly, and it came right on top of our celebration. Little drops starting falling down, and at some point it was pouring raining. The bride had not arrived yet, and with the mother of the bride, we started running with all the waiters, trying to get all the ceremony chairs and all the flowers, and we had to put them back into the venue. We were able to do the ceremony inside with people standing on the stairs. We did plan, but I did not plan for one cloud arriving at 5:20. I will never forget.
Oh.
And what happened is that we did look at the forecasts of the weather. It said beautiful weather. By dinner time, it started raining again. Then the sun came out, then it rained again. And I had all 300 people walking behind me, and we were opening the marquee. We had an accident. The Niagara Falls, the pipe broke, and we had the marquee between the villa and the wall. The pipe broke, and we had like a waterfall right in front of us that made all the floor, the beautiful white carpet, wet. Would you have expected that a pipe could break of a villa of the 18th century? No, because they just restored it. So that's when you learn, what am I going to do? There was no handrails. And quickly, I thought about the movie Hello, Dolly, when Barbara Streisand comes down from the stairs and all the waiters are hanging their arm to her as a handrail. I called all the waiters. I said, guys, you come over, you stand like that. I don't know how lucky I was to remember and to have seen that movie. And we could help all the ladies go down on their heels safely to their tables. So that's what I'm saying. You never know, and you always have to be prepared for the unexpected.
Well, I really appreciate the story. It sounded like you acted very quickly on your feet, pulled some memory that you recalled out of a movie, and you were able to, make it happen. But it was not it was not what you envisioned going in. It sounds like.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying you never learn enough.
Yeah, I can imagine that you have seen it all and continue to see it all. Uh, on that so that was, let's just say, a unforgettable experience in a way that maybe you had hoped was different. Maybe if you could rewrite the weather. Um, I'd love to know from you, Carolina. I'm sure you've done so many events, thousands of, definitely hundreds, but is there an event or two events that kind of stand out to you that you kind of look back on and say, for some reasons, those have just left a very profound memory in like an extremely positive way, um, as you kind of look back on the last 30 years?
Yes. There's one in particular, hmm, right before COVID. I chaired an event as part of YPO, Young President Organization. I was the chair. I'm a member of YPO, and I chaired this event in Venice. And it was years that I wanted to organize for YPO a masquerade ball. And it was at the end, that was the gala dinner. It was a 5-day event. And we had about 350 people attending. We had 15 different sightseeing performed every day. And we had education in the morning, every day with different speakers and resources on different topics. I will never forget the tears in some of the guests' eyes how grateful they were for the experience that we had been able to craft. And when I say we, because, okay, some were my ideas, but I also have to say that I had a fantastic committee and putting together experiences and the learning content that was so different from what they had experienced so far. And every evening was a different atmosphere. And having people coming to me, hugging me, telling that for them it has been a life-changing moment, learning all these things that they did not know about Venice, about Italy, about the resources that we had been able to find. That is a satisfaction. It is a feeling that no money can pay. No, there's nothing, no diamonds, no jewelry, no gifts can pay you back for that looks in people's eyes.
You know, you're talking about the tears, the emotions you've invoked, the experiences that you created over this 5-day experience. I mean, sounds like a incredibly challenging yet rewarding and fulfilling experience that you're able to cultivate. Um, when you're talking about those people crying, what what do you think drove those emotions? I mean, that's so core and fundamental to your business and what you're creating. But like, what enables that to happen? What enabled it to happen at that event?
I think that there's also the magic of beauty. I believe that beauty has power. When people are surrounded by beauty, by purpose, by special meanings, something can change in them. They also relax, they open up, they connect with other in a way they wouldn't in a plain and impersonal space. So when we are able to have people walking into an event and you see their face lit up with wonder, you know that you have given them more than just a beautiful setting. You have given them that feeling that they're not going to forget. So making them feel special and pampered and valued, that really is what I think makes the difference between a great event and a good event. When you go from good to great.
Like that book, right? Have you read that book?
Yes, exactly.
Sounds like you've built those ethos into the company as well. Uh, Carolina, I mean, I think it's really neat to hear you talk about creating environments, the recipe, uh, this 5-day event with YPO that you were able to ultimately facilitate. It's one of the questions I have is it's one thing to create this experience. It's one thing to see the impact of the attendance and you know the icing on the cake details to the core recipe to all of it. But if you're planning an event for hundreds of people, like this YPO event, and probably many of the other events that you do, I'm sure it takes a world class, detail oriented team as well to bring this all together. So what I'd love to understand and know more about is how you crafted a team around you to meet clients at the highest level and pull off these experiences time in and time out. How have you been able to do that?
I have been very lucky in my life, I have to say, to have found people that are passionate. And you become passionate. It's not that you're born passionate about events, because events cannot be learned on books. Even though one of my goals when I'm going to grow up is to open up a school um, for destination management companies and people that wants to organize events, having theory and then practice in the afternoon. But that's another topic. People in this business, when they're really passionate, they are able to go beyond anybody's expectation. Creating the right team means, and I have to say that I have mostly women, my company, has only women right now. We had the chance of having 4 gentlemen joining. They did not make it. So they didn't last long. And well, for many different reasons, personals and business wise. But at the end, I think well, we have many men's in our business, but they're on different topics. For example, in our theme decor, only men, but the scenographer is a lady. So when I recruit people to work in the company, I always tell them that it's a 7 days a week job, 24 hours a day. I always try to paint the picture really black to make sure that they're aware of the hard work. And I also have to use the word sacrifice. My husband always told me there will never be anybody being able to pay for the price of the hours that you guys work. You would be out of business. We work until 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. We are the last one to leave the party, obviously, but we are the first one the next day to be up at breakfast to make sure that the breakfast is fine, that everything is set up for the meeting. So sometimes, yes, we do sleep 2, 3 hours a day per night. And if you have to go on for different weeks, obviously we do turns. But when I have somebody 25 years old coming up to me at midnight and telling me, sorry, I'm tired and my feet hurts, I said, okay, no worries. Maybe that's not the right job for you. You also have to have, and it's true, a physical resistance, I call it, le physique du rôle. And then it sounds like I don't have people, how do you say, slaves to work. That's not maybe the right word, but it's a tough job. It's a tough job. And if you don't have the drive of the passion, sometimes it's tough. And so when you find the right people that have that right passion, then it's easy. Then people go beyond what it's expected. And what one of my ex-partners, when I started the business, told me, when you started in the event business, it's like a drug. You start and you cannot get out of it. Because if you'd like to change job, for sure you're going to start again something else, always related to the events. And honestly, after 32 years, if I had to start something new, it would always be event related because that's what I love. That's what I love to do. And that is why I also expanded in my business in different fields, but always events related, always linked with making people happy when they leave the event and going back home. When you say goodbye and you put them back on the plane, that's what you have left, the smile and the satisfaction of the people that were in your country.
I love how I love how firm you are with your how you hire, and basically in telling people, hey, this can be for you or it cannot be for you. Like I'm not going to conform the role to your needs. You're going to conform to our needs and like show that you have what it takes to perform for what the business needs. And sounds like you have strong women making it happen for you on the event floor. It sounds like men just can't hold up. I'm wondering if you'd even hire me if I put in an application. Probably not. So
I don't want to be mean, and absolutely, I am. I like equality. I like gender diversity. No, we have a lot of men also working, but let's say that in the planning, men are better when they plan conferences.
mm,
A lot of men are also. You have amazing wedding planners. You have amazing florists. Men are more driven for the logistics. Some are very good in the creative part, but not all of them. So it really also depends on the person. Now I'm kidding. I think it happens that in my company, in 32 years, I only had women beside 4 gentlemen, and I wish to find more men because it would be great to have more gender diversity. Having a company with only ladies is not always easy to handle. And I think that for sure my colleagues would agree with that with me. But now, jokes apart, you have to. Sometimes people, when they come and, they say, oh, I'd love to work in events. because they don't know the hard work that's behind the scene, and they think it's more like the glamorous part. Oh, the cocktail parties and the dinner parties and the galas and the entertainment. We are not there to enjoy the party. We are there to make it happen. We are the one behind the scene pulling all the strings. I always say an event is like a Swiss clock. You have on the table, you have all the different pieces of a watch, and then when the moment comes, it's like magic. Mary Poppins with the wand, ding, and all the pieces like a magnet come together, and they have to work together flawlessly. That's what we do. It's not we're out there to dance and eat with our guests. Nope.
As someone who's worked a lot of events, I agree with you. I know firsthand what you're describing. It's I mean, you can sort of enjoy the people, but you are there to create an experience. To your point, one thing that on this is you're talking about all of these great aspects of putting on an event. Something that you brought up multiple times and you shared with me earlier in the recording was talking about gifting, right? And I'd love to understand how you think about gifting in an event experience, how it's introduced or incorporated, and what makes a great gifting um, opportunity with events.
I have always been a person that preferred to offer a gift than receiving it. Because for me personally, to offer a gift gives me so much more pleasure than really receiving it. And so, as in other things in my life, all my passion, I tried also to transform them into a business. And to me, the art of gifting is the ability to strike right to the heart of the people we care and we love. So, and that also will apply then, let's say, business wise, because it's sometimes difficult when you're working for a company and they decide to offer gifts to their guests, or when you organize a party, there will be a welcome gift, a farewell gift in the room. My purpose is always to try to find and to explore what a person is passionate about. That's easy when you're talking about your friends or your family. That's the easy part. You get to know them. But when you have to do 300 gifts for attendees that you have no clue where they're coming from and what are their passion, I always tell my customers, we have to think, and you cannot always please everyone, but you have to think of what you would like to receive. And so, to me, gift giving is a profound art that really transcends the mere exchange of objects. It's a heartfelt communication that speaks directly to the soul. And I know that sometimes can be tricky because you say, oh, okay, well, that's complicated when you have to do 300 gifts that are all the same. But this sentiment encapsulates the essence of thoughtful gifting by, let's say, crafting moments that makes the recipient feel truly valued, cherished, and understood. And at that point, when you're able to try to encapsulate that moment, you're able to find, create, and think of something that more or less could please everyone. And so it involves dwelling into passion, values, and interest, and I would say translating that understanding into a tangible expression of affection. You cannot be affectionate to your 300 employees. You might not know them all, okay? But if we can have a little exploration of what their interests are, that makes the proposal much easier.
Love it. Okay, so I'm going to present an event scenario, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you would give to all 300 people that come. So, imagine you're in San Francisco. Have you been to San Francisco?
Absolutely. Many times.
And so imagine an inspirational day planned. Okay, and in the first part of the day, a group of people swam from Alcatraz to shore, right? With boats to the right and left, they were making sure that those people were safe swimming. And then at night, they threw an event a 300 or 400 guests, and it's a celebration of overcoming some obstacles and challenges. And the people in the room were entrepreneurial types that built things, done things, overcome things. They were really drawn to this community and group of people. And you had to give a gift to everyone that was walking out of the event venue that night. They just had an amazing, riveting experience, one of the best events they've ever been to. And boom, event, gift to close it all out. What comes to mind?
I would first ask you two things before I come up with the idea of the gifts. So, the theme of your event is overcoming challenges, correct? Right. The second, they would be swimming. Okay? Swimming, water, and I'm thinking towels. You come out, and the pleasure of coming out of the water is to have a nice towel around you. Overcoming challenges is also about putting together piece of a physical puzzle of strength, passion, dedication, and I would say physical resistance, right? So I know it could sound funny, but it would also depend on your budget, because budget is also important. But what could be fun is to hand out everyone a chocolate tablet crafted with piece of a puzzle. So imagine, I would say, a rectangle, okay, chocolate, but when you and it would be piece of a puzzle that when you're going to put them the pieces together, okay, it would be rectangular and would be a chocolate tablet. On every piece of the puzzle, I would have them obviously handcrafted. There will be words that would represent an echo challenge. So I would say you can put strengths, resilience, compassion. What comes to my mind? Challenge, vision. I mean, all words that would be compelling to your vision, your mission, the company mission, but also about your theme. And we could put them in a nice, well, they have to be all mixed, because then the purpose that people go home, they find them and they have to put them together so they have the complete vision. But everything could be wrapped in a nice, elegant linen towel, because I'm just visioning people coming out of the swimming. And the first thing that you really want, because the water there is really so cold, is a nice towel. And that could be wrapped with a nice ribbon. And then we have to make sure that the pieces won't break. So it has to be thick. And to cater everybody's tastes, you could have all the pieces of the puzzle made out of different chocolate, milk, white, and dark chocolate. So as you don't know the taste of everybody, you have different kind of chocolates, you have the words, and you have the towels. I don't know. This would be the first that would come to my mind.
You are hired. This is great. Uh, I mean, I mean, one, I kind of wanted to have fun. And see how you'd reply. I think that's incredible, and also speaks to clearly your gifting, love, and kind of how you incorporate probably thoughtful gifting into events that might make sense for everyone, right? So I think that was, I don't know if you could make that better. So, yeah, that's special. Carolina, I'm looking at the time. This has flown by. I should have booked an hour and a half with you. We could have another hour. So we may have to do a follow on. This has been a total treat to do with you. So I
It
appreciate.
has been an honor to be interviewed by you, my dear Bryan. Thank you so much. I hope I have not been boring. And
No.
that it will be useful maybe for someone and inspiring. And I would love to discuss further whatever you would like. And it has been a great pleasure. And thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast.
Where can people find you? Where can people find your company and you?
My company, they can find me on the website, Affresco Events Group. We are based in Florence. We work all over the country. And anyone that comes to Italy, I would love to host them for a nice glass of red wine. And visiting my country, to me, it's a pleasure and an honor to showcase something that is a little different from the stereotype. Reach out to me and we'll make it unforgettable.
I have no doubt by the way you answered that gifting question. Well, thank you for being here and look forward to having more conversations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode on The One Away Show with Carolina. What stayed with me most was Carolina's ability to elevate every interaction into something meaningful, from the curve of a wine glass to the tone of a farewell gift. Her work is a reminder that beauty, intention, and presence can transform even the most structured event into a memory that lives on. Whether she's planning a masquerade ball in Venice or solving a last-minute crisis in Lake Como, Carolina leads with care, and the results speak for themselves. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd love it if you shared it or left a review. We are back every Tuesday and Friday with more stories just like this. Until next time, never underestimate the power of how you make people feel.